Guys, what's up and welcome to the channel. I am the Shotgun Shogun and this is another Training Grounds. Today we are going to be talking about Soul Badguy, the free unit out of the Guilty Gear collab. Is the Guilty Gear collab coming up? Yes, it is. Has it already come out? Maybe by the time you are watching this video. Regardless, we are going to be talking today about his stats, his place in a team, how to build him, what artifacts to use, and why this guy will change your entire life when it comes to raids and golem, as well as some PvP, especially in the future, I think. So anyways, we're going to take a look at his stats right now. Let's go in here. We're going to get him all the way up to Awaken. So he does have 1,177 attack. This is going to put him up near the upper echelons of attack when it comes to warriors and actually units in general. There are only a few other warriors that are above him, characters like ML Ken. He is on the same par as Chloe, so there is that. Now, speaking of being on the same par as Chloe, his defense and his HP are also comparable. So you are going to be wanting to build him as a semi-glass cannon DPS. His HP is not very high at 5,340, so he isn't going to be taking damage very well. But what he makes up for in defensive lacking, he makes up for in speed. So again, his speed is on the same par as Chloe, and this does put him up near the top tier of speed units. At 119, he's only 10 speed slower. He's only 10 speed slower than the likes of Kayron, right? So Kayron right now, the fastest thing in the game is 129. This means that he is going to be getting off a lot of attacks, especially if you build him so that you get a little bit more speed on him and a lot of damage. If you can keep him alive, he's going to absolutely wreck anything that you put him against. The other nice thing too is through his Awakening, you do get extra critical hit chance, which is going to be a boon when we talk about how you need to stack crit damage on him. So we're going to go into his skills right now. We are on Gunflame. This is going to be his S1. This is attacks an enemy with a pillar of fire. Damage dealt increases when the enemy isn't buffed. Gains 20 fighting spirit when a critical hit is made. So as you can tell, you are going to need that critical hit chance in order to get your fighting spirit increased, especially on the S1s. So this is going to go into the S2, which is going to benefit from the fighting spirit. Counterattacks and silences for 2 turns when an enemy uses a non-attack skill or when the caster is attacked by an elite or boss monster. Damage dealt increases proportional to the enemy's max health. This can only activate once every 2 turns. Now, Roman Cancel. I almost said Roman Shuffle. Roman Cancel. When the caster's fighting spirit is 100 at the end of an ally's turn, the caster consumes all fighting spirit and extends the duration of buffs granted to the caster before being granted an extra turn. This means you're going to be getting quite a bit of extra turns out of this. You are going to be doing increased damage. This is going to be your second priority skill here, because the nice thing here is that this is a skill that does damage proportional to the enemy's max health. When it comes to raids, when it comes to hunts, this is an amazing ability, and we're going to talk about that more later on. So we're going to move into his S3, and this is the bread and the butter. Tyrant Rave version beta. Attacks with a strong punch, dispelling all buffs before making them unable to be buffed for 2 turns. Damage dealt also increases proportional to the enemy's max health. Now this is amazing. You're going to at least want to get to +3, right? Because you get the 1 turn cooldown. Personally, I would say go to 5, because this is going to do an extra 20% damage, and already he's going to be doing a lot of damage with the percent health, with just the damage that it does. The fact that you're going to have very high crit damage, things like that, this is going to be very, very important, because you're going to want to do as much damage to those bosses as possible so that they do not kill him. So let's first talk about some of the artifacts. Then we're going to talk about how to gear him as I show you some of the numbers that I'm going to be running through the damage calculator for him. So first up is his artifact. This is Junkyard Dog, 50% chance to burn an enemy for 2 turns after using a basic skill. Now, you might be thinking, man, this is going to be really good. However, you're going to be wanting to building him for crit damage, and burn scales off of attack damage, or off a base attack. So this one, in my opinion, is not very good on him. There's many other units that this is much better on. Characters like Purgus, Trainer Guard. If you are going for a Trainer Guard for Wyvern 13, this is invaluable on him, so just skip it. If you have Draco Plate, this is going to add another 30% critical hit damage, so if you're having a hard time getting his critical hit damage up and you do have a Draco Plate maxed, then this is a very, very good artifact on him, but we'll talk about more. So Herberous Tooth used to be very phenomenal on him because you would have crit and you would always be triggering this. However, again, this scales off of his attack, and seeing as you aren't going to be really stacking attack in the builds that you should be going for most of your content, you are going to want to pass up on this one. Hellcutter, probably not very good because he is a little on the fast side. However, if you do build him very slow, very high damage, very high crit, and you're looking for some more additional attack and critical hit chance, this isn't a bad option, especially if you have other fast units that are going to be cycling around him to give him that extra little bit of crit chance or damage that he needs. Creation Destruction is absolutely for the memes. Do you want to just punch them in the face with your S3 twice? This might do it. I don't actually suggest this. This one was just for the memes. However, this is the one, the next one is the one that should absolutely be on him for the vast majority of the time, especially if you were looking at PvE content, and that's going to be Daydream Joker. And the reason why is that you're going to be doing 3% of the enemy's max health when attacking. Now, this is going to stack alongside of his S2 and his S3, meaning that you are going to be doing a metric pile of damage against units that have very high hit points. Golem, any of the raid bosses. This is going to allow you to just straight up melt these units. Now, I'm going to show you some examples here. We're going to come over here to the damage calculator. Now, if you've never been to this, honestly, I would say just go to it. It's one of the best things that you can go to do any sort of theory crafting. Now, as you can see up here at the top, I do have Soul Badguy. I do have him equipped with Daydream Joker. Now, we're going to just use some very, very base stats here. We're going to do 2,000 damage or 2,000 attack, and we'll do 250 critical hit damage. Now, this is not very hard to get, especially considering he has 1,177 attack just base. Now, we're just going to round this up just for ease of numbers here. Now, we don't have any buffs on him, no debuffs on him. We are going to do we'll do Wyvern 13, who has 233,578 health. Now, I don't actually remember what his defense is, but even so, let's say he has 1,500 defense, right? So just this alone, if you come down here and you have his S3 maxed out, a crit is going to do 22,000 damage. So that is pretty big in itself. Actually, I don't think Wyvern has that much defense. So we'll just go down to 1,200. So this is going to do 26,484. So this is quite a bit of damage just on a critical on his S3. That's with no elemental advantage. That's no with defense break. That's not targeting. That's not, oh, hold on. We got rage proc set on. Sorry about that. So 20,372. Ignore the last one. I was testing something else a minute ago. So you're still going to be doing 20,000 damage to him. Now, chances are you're not going to be fighting Wyvern, right? So let's say that I don't actually know what Golem's HP is, but let's say we're fighting Golem. We have elemental advantage. Let's say you defense broke him, because chances are that if you're doing a hunt, you probably going to want to bring some sort of defense break. Now, this is already going to jump up to 51,000 damage just on a critical from his S3. That's without increased attack. That's without anything. And this is very, very easy to obtain. 2,000 attack, 250 critical hit damage. Very, very simple. That can be achieved by a destruction set and a crit neck, and not even very good ones. So let's say we increase his attack. Okay, that's not really going to do too much more. It's going to give you about 5,000 more damage on crit. But here's one of the things, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier on how you were going to want to stack critical hit damage, because the thing is, Daydream Joker, as well as his S2 and his S3, scale exponentially off of critical hit damage because they do percent hit. They do damage based on the amount of HP that the enemy has. That does not calculate into straight attack. It will be multiplicatively increased by just more critical hit damage, because critical hit damage is going to work off of the damage that's already there. So attack doesn't really take into consideration the percentage hit damage. So it's going to be attack plus that percent health damage. So what you're going to be wanting to look at here is stacking critical hit damage. So let's do this just for example. Let's say you don't have anything attack on him, which is not, it's not actually feasible because your weapon would add 500 something attack on here. So we're going to be at 250. We're going to take everything off. We'll take off elemental advantage, decrease that. We'll keep the same hit points. So even at, take that off there. So even at very base with no increased attack, you're going to do 18,771. Now, let's say you bump this up to just 275. That's an extra 25% critical hit chance, or critical hit damage. It's going to jump you up to 20,000. Let's say you go up to 300. You're just stacking nothing but crit damage, 22,000. You go up to 350, which is the absolute cap of crit damage you can do. It's going to put you at 26,279. Now, if we come back down here and we go back to 250 on the critical hit damage, let's say we ramp this up to 5,000 attack. You stacked 5,000 attack. You would have to stack 5,000 attack in order to come close to the amount that you would have just from stacking to 350% crit damage. Now, this is going to get even more nutty. So let's go back down to 177 here. Let's say you stack nothing but critical hit damage. You find a way to get him up to 350% critical hit damage. You're up against Golem. You've got increased attack on. You've got defense on. You've got target in play. You're going to be doing 80,000 damage to him. Just 80,000 damage right there, right out of the gate. Now, let's say you somehow have godlike gear and you put rage set on. That's 104,000 damage on to Golem with this whole crazy setup. And that's assuming, I don't know what Golem's defense rating is or HP. We're just using some theoretical stuff here. So this just shows you that stacking critical hit damage on him is going to be very, very amazing. As such, you are going to want to look at destruction set and 2-piece critical hit set. You can also do all critical hit set just to get your crit up there, but you're going to want to be getting critical hit damage substats. Critical hit damage neck is an absolute must. Now, you will still want to go with, if you're trying to go with damage, you can still stack the attack up boots. However, in terms of cycling, I would almost suggest a pair of speed boots, because the increased attack isn't going to be doing nearly as much as increasing your S3, getting more of your fighting spirit so that you can get more S2s off, getting those cooldowns on the S2. You can alternatively stack some HP on his boots so that he doesn't get one shot by Hell Raid bosses. So that's what you're going to really want to be doing with him. Now, people you can pair him up with obviously are units that have an imprint that increases critical hit chance, meaning that you can forego some critical hit chance in favor of critical hit damage on your gear. You will also want to make sure that you pair him up with units that can keep him safe. DN, Amomo, things like that. You are going to want to have a unit that can do some of that babysitting of this unit as he absolutely wrecks face. One of the nice things is that if you do get dizzy along with him, they are very, very good at morale in the raid, as well as she is very good at keeping him alive due to her debuffs that she can inflict onto the enemies. So that was a little bit about Soul Badguy and a bit of me talking about why you should stack crit damage on him with those numbers. I will link to the damage calculator as well as Epic 7DB in the comment section if you want to play around with those. But if you are having problem with golem, if you are having problem with either one of the levels of raids, this is an amazing unit that will absolutely help you out. If you have him, just invest in him. You don't even really need a lot of Molagor investment. Like I said, you can just go to +3 on his S3 for the 1 turn cooldown. And then if you want to go further into some of the other ones, phenomenal. I haven't, and he has always worked out very, very well for me. But that's it for me, guys, for this episode of The Training Grounds. I hope that you did like this. If you did, as always, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, hit the bell notification, and share this out if you would. I do always appreciate you helping me overcome the YouTube algorithm. So anyways, guys, that's it for me. I'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy, homies. Peace.
Badguy.